In Nebraska, spring is a renewal of Husker football. We're going to take a look at the newcomers, the freshmen, the portal additions, plus how the House settlement will affect Nebraska football and where all those former Huskers ended up in the NFL. All coming up next on Big Red Wrap. Hi everyone, I'm Michael Severe. Welcome to Big Red Wrap-Up on Nebraska Public Media. We have a lot to get to tonight. We want to hear from you, the viewer. We have our phones standing by, ready for you to call. If you prefer, you could also text or email us your comments or questions to bigred@nebraskapublicmedia.org. We're also monitoring our social media accounts tonight as well. Send us your thoughts on our Big Red Wrap-Up Facebook page or X account, and we'll answer as many questions as we can. Time for our sideline survey. Last time we met with you, we asked the question, what will Nebraska's record be in 2025? 12-0, 11-1, 9-3, 8-4, 9-3, 8-4, 77% wins. I think that's where most people are right now, but we'll chat about it a little bit later on the show. This week's question, what transfer are you looking most forward to seeing playing? Dane Key, Isaiah Hunter, the two wide receivers, Rocco Spindler or Elijah Pridgett, two offensive linemen, Sean McCullough, who everything, Williams Nwaneri, or other. We'll look at that a little bit later as well. We want to welcome the boys in. Of course, former Huskers, Jay Moore, Damon Benning, and Sean Callahan. First of all, did you go on Saturday?
I did not.
If you did go, if you would have gone, would you have been down there catching punts?
I tell you what, there's two brave souls that did it. He's done it
A billion times?
1,000 times. I've tried before.
Yeah.
And it's hard. So, like, all the grief Sean got, it's not fair.
Yeah.
I've done it. It's hard. Just stand back there and, I don't remember, was it windy?
It was very windy.
Yes. So, like,
very windy.
Like that's
Nebraska.
That's difficult. Correct. In the spring. So no, that's I would put myself out there.
Yeah.
And would have tried, but I'm glad they didn't ask me.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Yeah. I'm not famous enough to get asked. Damon, favorite player in terms of the newcomers?
I'm going to go with Pritchett.
Oh. Looks the part.
And I think he's interesting. So that's probably, it doesn't have a, well, it has a little to do with his play and level of importance, obviously, as a tackle. But for me, I think he's interesting how he's kind of ingratiated himself in the Nebraska's culture. Very different surroundings coming from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
I think he's very interesting in terms of his thought process on the camaraderie and moving as one, this unit known as the O-line at the University of Nebraska. I think he's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, his interview was really good, talking about the unity coming over here to Nebraska. Favorite newcomer?
I'm going to go to the wide receiver room. I mean, you can go with a lot of those guys,
Yeah.
but I just think Dane Key, to get an established player with his background, his leadership skills, it's hard to find in the transfer portal, and it's what Nebraska needed, especially when they lost some of the key guys they have. I mean, for Dylan Raiola to be what we think he can be, I think you need a kind of a true alpha receiver, and there's a few of those guys, but I really like Dane Key and the potential that he could bring to this offense.
Sorry, Jay, I didn't give you a chance to answer the question.
No, that's fine. You know, I think Pritchett. I would agree with Damon. I'm gonna stay with the O-line. I think getting Rocco Spindler from Notre Dame, his ability to play multiple positions.
Yeah.
You can kind of plug him and play into the interior, not predominantly a tackle per se, but I think that addition there, maybe the 1B, he has some room to grow still to get there, but I mean, just watch the Nwaneri work and just his upside, he could, in his frame, in his God-given talents, that he could be special. He needs to mature a little bit. He's not quite there, but just seeing what potentially could come with what he has is he could be very special.
As my affinity for Jay's ability to critique D-line, he usually plays it pretty close to the best, but I got a chance to spend some time with him at a practice, and I was actually surprised that you were impressed with his athleticism and how fluid he was, because, I mean, listen, you've been there, done that. It's hard, but you look at his length, his arms. If he figures it out, he is a it's not very many players they have that can make Keona Davis look normal, because he's really the freak. But Nwaneri, he is. That wingspan.
That drill they had where they said the two dummies and you got to work in tough quarters.
What did you say would happen to you if you did that drill?
Oh, I mean, I torn hamstring Achilles, right?
I'm talking right now.
Right now. No, right now. I rotator cuff.
Rotator cuff. I mean,
now,
the turns were so tight.
Yeah, it's a hard drill.
Yeah.
They do the new D-line coach. Love watching them work.
It's a tough drill.
Yeah, it's a very
tough
hard drill, and he handled it like a vet.
I will tell you that Huffkin makes them both look small. Let's go. We're going to go position by position. He's a beast. We're going to go position by position. Let's start with quarterback. Did we learn anything, Damon, from what you saw on Saturday about the reserve guys?
Yeah, I think it was tough, right? Because, when you get down to kind of in a scrimmage like that, you need the offensive line to be kind of a cohesive unit. And I think they struggled up front a little bit with some of the guys up front that they were going against. I mean, Mason Goldman, he's a good player. And he's going to be a good player. And I think he was kind of having his way. You get guys like Hofkin, who we watched, all wearing those size 20s. I mean, he's a gifted natural pass rusher. It's just hard for those quarterbacks to kind of flourish. But one thing I did like, I kind of like TJ Latif's poise and his feel for his ability to kind of move and manipulate the pocket a little bit. I like that.
Yeah, that's like kind of yelling all last year occasionally to Raiola to just go, just run. Yeah. He was doing that. What do you think about Gramstad as the backup? Do you think one of the two other guys have a chance to maybe move up?
Yeah, I think Gramstad, being a 6-year guy, it's just such a unique story. I mean, a year ago at this time, he was working at a golf course in Orange City, Iowa, playing spring football at an NAIA Power, and he just took a bet on himself, showed up to Nebraska's postgraduate camp unannounced, paid the $50. He even attended Nebraska's coaches clinic. I mean, it's almost like a movie when you talk about the story of this kid. Came to the coaches clinic as an attendee and went to the tryout camp and earned a roster spot. And here we are now talking about him as the number 2. He got honored, I saw on Sunday night, with the Sam Foltz award as well. So I think for him, it's gone about as well as it can go. He's smart enough to understand what they're doing, understands the game of football. He's played a lot of snaps in his career. I think he's the perfect guy for this situation. You hope Dylan can get through this year and Gramstad's maturity can be there for Dylan while the other guys can continue to develop and take advantage of the 4-game redshirt rule as well, if any of those guys were called upon.
I really worry about his arm strength on a windy day. I don't know if he can throw through those Memorial Stadium winds. What are you expecting from Raiola this year? What growth from freshman to sophomore year?
Well, obviously a little more, he's going to be more comfortable in this offense. Got the last 5-6 games with Holgorsen. But just he's matured, right? I mean, he was thrown into this and being young. I know the pedigree he's come from, but his ability to now just process things quicker. Everything's going to slow down from a little bit. Taking care of his body a little bit better, a little more mobile, learning how to take hits the right way, and just he's going to flourish. I think just with the improvement of the two guys we just alluded to earlier on the offensive line, the key additions at the wide receiver position. And then you get the running back, which is, I mean, we know Emmett's 1A, but there's a stable of guys now at that position who can really do some things. And you're going to see him just become more comfortable and just be Dylan. I don't think they're not going to ask him to do too much. I think just the weapons around him and the offensive line production they're going to get be vastly improved. I don't think it's, comparing, his freshman year to maybe this year, unless you're totally looking at it. I don't know if it's going to be ultra evident to everyone's eyes, but I think you're going to see a lot of good growth, good healthy growth, and just another year with the Holgorsen is going to be very impressive.
Let's talk about that running back room. Stealing a line from Ocean's 11. Do you need one more? Do you need to get one more?
Maybe. It's predicated on their health. The one thing I would say is somebody has to emerge as having a little bit different style. The guy that kind of runs behind their pads, is a real good crease guy with like duo and can really hit a crease. Like not necessarily a power back, but they have those shifting, good footwork guys. Well, Ives has probably the best frame.
Yeah.
He's the biggest. Still learning to kind of run behind his pads. I think Mekhi Nelson is the best natural runner of the three, but Emmett is the most complete. So as long as they stay healthy, which is difficult to do. I mean, you probably play 4 running backs in any given season, sometimes 5. But the great debate is, do you need 5 or 6 scholarship guys in the backfield? I don't know if there's a right answer, but it starts with how healthy they are.
Show them about the freshmen.
Yeah, it's really hard right now because we didn't get a great read. Connor Booth obviously came out with a knee injury. I thought it was good that he just went through spring ball and got those reps. But Parker, just with the stuff that he was battling, he didn't get a lot of practice reps. And so, I think it's safe to say both would appear to be guys that could redshirt this year. But, you never know. I mean, what the summer could bring. I was really hoping to get a better feel on Jamarian Parker. But I just think he battled some stuff as a freshman, and we'll see how the summer turns out for him as he gets more acclimated to life at Nebraska.
Be nice to see if Connor Booth could do that, because he has, I hate to say sneaky athletic, but when he does things on the field,
No,
you go,
it's not sneaky.
It's not. I know you look at him and you think to yourself, oh, okay, this guy can run over people, he can run past people, he
He's
doesn't
a
get
great
caught from
baseball
behind.
player.
Yeah.
He can track a ball. He's got good hips to
Yeah.
be to have those thick hips. He's a really
could be
good
the guy.
athlete. He's a tough kid too. So I like the fact he'd be a good duo guy.
They moved Vince Genatone to running
I
back.
saw that, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I,
out there,
I
yeah.
like Genatone wearing the 30.
Well, he's just a great athlete.
And I
Incredible
mean, he's a
athlete.
hammer too. Plays
Yeah.
the game the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, 10.5, 10.4.
He was a
what do you run?
10.50 high school
10.5,
and
yeah.
100, and obviously
At his size.
state champ wrestler.
Yeah. Let's get into the wide receivers. A lot of newcomers.
A lot of them.
But Dane Key's the guy that keeps getting brought up. He looks the part when you see him, even out of pads. He looks the part.
Yeah, just the physicality. And Nebraska has more and more of those guys. Just being all at practice last week, just seeing like, okay, the pieces are starting to come together just from across the board. Dane Key looks the part. Cortez Mills looks the part. Hunter looks the part. We don't know what Barney can do. But yeah, just his physical presence, he can line you up inside, outside. A guy who can go get it, but just a good possession guy that you can rely on. And Dylan's used to having some bigger framed, wide catch radius guys from the receivers last year between Nair and Banks. He's another one of these trusty guys you're going to throw it to, and you can go up and get it.
DB, is it Key, Mills, Barney, Bonner, Hunter, and Mosey? Are those your six?
Yeah, I would say those are the six, not in that order. I
Yeah.
think the guy that kind of gets overlooked, that does a lot of everything, is Bonner. Pretty complete.
Yep.
Steady. Of the pups, I would probably, I probably like Mills just slightly ahead of Mosey because Mills has been a little healthier, but both pretty talented. I like the fact that they both get to where they're going. Different players. Mills he's a tough traffic guy, and Mosey's grown quite a bit since last winter. He's physically, he looks much more prepared, but I like Hunter more than most. I get it. Key gets a lot of the burn, as he should. He's a good player. But I like Hunter's toughness. He is competitive, and as you saw the other day,
He's going to let him know about it too.
he's not afraid to give it to you. He is not.
He will let you know about it.
The offense finally has some guys that will clap back
Yeah.
a little bit when the defense is trying to bully him, and Hunter leads the way.
What about those other guys? And Quinn Clark is a guy that we talk about a little bit. Who else do you see outside of those six, Sean?
I mean, you'll get some freshmen that Jeremiah Jones when he arrives.
When he gets here, yeah.
Jackson Carpenter battled injury all spring, but Jeremiah Jones is the one that's not here that really intrigues me just based on #1 player in Kentucky. But yeah, Quinn Clark, he played on Saturday in the scrimmage, which I want to say was telling, but the guys that sat out were the six Damon mentioned, and a guy like Clark got a lot of opportunity. But you see the potential, you see the upside of what Quinn Clark can be, and he's a 2 to 3 year investment. And I do think if he buys into like what the plan is for him, he is going to be a good player.
Talk about one of the hardest positions in football, and now go to tight end, where you're expected to do so many different things. Is Luke Lindenmeyer for you the guy that you're most interested in, or who is it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he is. I think just you saw him evolve.
Yep.
Obviously, we knew about Thomas Fedoni and his ability and his athleticism, but I think you see him and just does nothing ultra flashy, but he's a guy you can trust on. He can block in line. He can catch it. Those the tight end delays that they use Lindenmeyer on. Love those plays. That little wrinkle that Holgerson ran.
Yeah.
Obviously Harbor getting thrown in the mix. I know Carter was hurt this spring, didn't get a chance to evolve. But yeah, Lindenmeyer is your guy that you can trust on. He's your key guy that you know what you're going to get with him. Harbor still's got to evolve. I think the athleticism's there, and he'll be utilized, but This is his first full year of playing a tight end, and then Carter, the athleticism there is vastly there. Again, got to stay healthy. The young, it's got to mature a little bit more. But Lindenmeyer's he's your staple guy. You're going to get with him, and I think that's what you need. Old, reliable at that spot.
For Harburg, in that first year full-time tight end, what's the biggest adjustment he's going to make?
End line blocking. It's dark in there. You have to be able to use your hands. He has to understand good pad level, and you have to be willing. Right? I think that's the part that will come the quickest to him because he is so competitive. But when I say dark, it's quick collisions. It's the ability to use your hands, really good hand placement. But tight ends is the one room I don't really worry about. They're well coached, and you take a look at their production in terms of development. There aren't a lot of other position groups on this football team that can say everybody's gotten better, right? And you're going to get Mark Way back healthy. You're going to get Carter Nelson back healthy. Lindemeyer's become a completely different player under the tutelage of this staff, where he's become complete. You got Eric Ingerson, who's probably the one that's not like the others because he's the biggest and the strongest
Looked good on Saturday.
Of the bunch. So I don't have any problems with the development in the tight end room, but for Harburg in particular, the inline stuff, I think, and how they utilize him. Can he be a good duo guy? Will they slip him out in the backfield? Because he's not one of those guys, in my opinion, you're thinking, 30 catches for, 6 a catch. I think you're thinking matchups, chunk plays. If this guy is a 20, 25 catch guy for 350 yards, I think you take that with Harburg and his evolution.
You get Carter Nelson. Obviously, you've been watching him since he was in high school, and he's a great athlete. Where do you see him in terms of fitting in?
I think what we don't know is how he'll return. And, it was a good sign to see him sprinting out of the tunnel and, kind of bouncing around, even though he's out of commission right now. But what does the Carter Nelson look like when he gets into the summer drills? How does he come back off that hip surgery that he went under? And, I know the thought is he'll be full go this summer, but you just never know how a guy is going to come back from that. He's never experienced a major injury in his life before, but we know he can be an X factor if he's healthy. And, he played in the bowl game. I mean, he just kind of had to battle through that pain, and then they had the surgery after the bowl game was over.
Yeah.
I think one of the adjustments for those guys, and I would throw Harburg into this bunch and Carter Nelson as a young tight end, it's one of those positions where you have to be able to function at a high level when you may not be as used to being open, right? There's a lot more contested catches. There's not as much separation. And so you have to really get accustomed to not operating in space.
Yeah. Let's talk some offensive line and we got into a little bit with two of the newcomers, but in terms of that right tackle spot, you hear so many names thrown around, right? Lutovsky's one I get thrown around a lot too. Do we have a feel at all who might line up at that right tackle spot?
I mean, he performed well being thrown in there last year. He's really, really good. You'd like to see some of those guys who were hurt last year being able to Corcoran and Teddy, but you don't know. I mean, can you rely on them, the guys that deal with injuries? But I tell you what, with Lutovsky being able to be thrown in there, and then Gunnar Katula obviously as another option, those guys weren't day one starters last year, but because of injuries were thrown in there. And I thought they performed well. So I love the competition. The fact that the depth at this position is, I think, where it needs to be. But the competition is there. I mean, you got to be fighting. You can't slip up at all. Otherwise, you'll be knocked down a peg. So I love that aspect of it. But I feel comfortable with Lutovsky and Gotula with stepping into that right tackle position. I have full trust in them, no doubt.
And you got Prohaska, you got Canuck. If you can keep Lutovsky inside and go with Lutovsky, Justin Evans, and Spindler, you're gonna move some people. I mean, those guys can get a hat on a hat and move some guys. But I think keep an eye maybe on Canuck. He's kind of flying under the radar coming off an injury, but he's got really good size. He's got experience. He's got good toughness.
Justin Evans, obviously, it seems like, listening to everybody, he's kind of taking control a little bit, leadership role.
Yeah, I think that was one of the more positive developments since the bowl game, just to see him emerge and take ownership of that center position, because as you know, that's such a big part of the offensive line. And I think the development path for Evans has been perfect to go now into his fourth year. He's kind of gradually gotten to this point. They didn't throw him out there too quickly, and I think he's gotten better and better each year. And this is the natural move. I think there was some thought, oh, maybe it could be Sledge, but to see Evans step up and take over that center role, that's a good sign. And I think it's really now about what does that fifth and final spot look like? Is it Latosky at right tackle? And if it's not him at right tackle, he goes back to guard, and then who can play that right tackle spot? And I think Corcoran is still somebody you have to watch closely. I think once he comes back, he could even play the guard position.
I was going to say inside.
He can play inside.
And Raiola, with his NFL background as a coach, he's all about cross-training these guys. So you'll see, I think, some different combinations as they get the full group back.
Let's switch you guys up. You kind of said Pritchard earlier. Tell me what you think about Spindler.
I like Spindler at the point of attack. Obviously, he's a guy that is a grader. He's your prototypical guard, where he's heavy-handed. He can move you. Now, we'll see what happens with situational pass protection and things like that. But for those interior guys, that's always going to kind of be a thing. It takes a special guy to be able to be really adept at both, and they're usually playing on Sundays. But for Spindler, I do like the fact that he can move bodies. And I think Nebraska really wants to establish toughness in running the football, because so much of what they want to do in the passing game is predicated off of run action. And if you can run the ball and run it inside, the sky's the limit for what you can do offensively.
Yeah, you take Pritchard.
Yeah. I mean, looking ahead, what I like about Spindler and Pritchard, I love the fact you get guys that have come from very successful programs. The competitiveness, you know what it takes to win. And these guys are ultra talented, but I love that aspect of it. There's something to be said for, playing at Notre Dame, playing at Alabama. They've played in college football playoff games, played in national championship games, competed at a high level. So there's something to be said. But you look at him, it's just, you roll him off, one of the first guys off the bus. That's a Sunday guy. Nebraska, it's been, I know Juergens was the most recent, NFL draft pick, as a offensive lineman, but you're looking at him right now. It's like there's your stays healthy. There's your next guy. And it's been too few and far between with Nebraska, getting to those guys that are called names on Sunday.
Yeah, real quick though, this is in. Apparently, Davin Raiola is a pretty good coach. I mean, maybe could be, maybe not. We don't know.
The tight end position and the offensive line position are the two positions where you feel comfortable saying, guys get better the longer they're around those guys.
No doubt. This time of year, of course, normally have a spring game, but Matt Rhule didn't necessarily want that, so they had the Husker games instead. A full day of entertainment at Memorial Stadium and in the Hawk Center, ending with a great volleyball game at Devaney. Looking at some of the football highlights, we start off with what's probably the most popular part of this whole thing was the garage sale. I know, Sean, you went over there, you checked it out. I know a lot of people had bought a little bit. Then you had flag football, where the Midlands team looked like the Niners from the 80s.
Yeah, they were incredible.
They were so good. You even had Don Raiola went out there too and threw the ball around a little bit. That was fun though. 7-on-7, that's fun to watch.
It was, and I like to see young ladies sling it, having a couple of daughters. So I'm always going to be a fan.
You had the tractor pull, which was pretty interesting. Will you pull a tractor, Jay?
How about Pritchard's form here? Look at him stay in that frame.
Man, again, you want to talk about breaking something. Something's definitely getting torn.
Sean, Latif looked pretty good out there, didn't he?
Yeah, for his first time out in that situation, this is what you wanted to see. And I'm glad that Matt Rhule pivoted to this model. It just made a lot of sense. Like, all right, I get your top 60 guys you don't want out there, but get the other guys that are kind of battling in that position, and get them some good reps. And you're not going to be able to simulate this during the season where you could, give him at least some live work in front of a crowd.
Then you had the part that I'd love to have been a part of was the wing eating contest. And the defensive line, they dominated that contest. It was impressive.
Led by that guy right there in the middle. Borchers was impressive. I liked his style. I liked his technique. He was a machine.
He was a machine, right. Elijah Judy here with the roping contest. John Cook, of course, did his and did very well. We all expected that. That's why it's named after him. But before we get to anything else, we've got to go into the huddle. And I want you to break down a little bit of the media punt catching competition.
Yeah, let's take a look here. I mean, Omaha Gross's finest got thrown into this situation. And listen, it was windy. But it's not an easy task here. no, the best about Sean Callahan here, he gets better.
Yeah. Should have let it go.
Yeah, that's
Should've
fine.
let it go.
Let it go.
I had to wait.
Go ahead, let it go.
You know, but this is a guy who's done this, 1,000 times, right? I mean,
Yeah.
arms in tight, right?
Look at him judging. Oh,
that
wind
was
didn't
tough.
get him.
That's tough. I mean, that's the guy
Yeah.
who's done it. But Sean,
Second chance, baby.
you're always getting better. You can get better, get worse. Sean got better.
Look at that.
Look at that. I mean,
He's the only one that didn't get in front of the ball because Mitch off his chest, and then what's his Kevin? Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Coach Foley goes, that's how we train it. Like he said, use
Get
your
in front of
hands.
the ball.
You pulled it in.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think I got the highest TV rating of the game itself based on the social media views.
Yeah. And you donated $1,000
Yeah,
to teammates.
there's some potential. I'd like
Yeah.
to do something for Sam and
Sure.
the Foltz Foundation, and I think we could have some fun with this. You're in the Jet Award can get involved. Where
Yeah.
we do a fundraiser.
We have Johnny out there, man,
To
coaching.
do some celebrity punt catching to fundraise for the Foltz Foundation.
That could be fun. Coming up next, we'll take a look at who will be replacing the defensive line this season. And later, we'll see where a lot of the Huskers who played last year are going in the NFL. Ty Robbins will be missed. We remember him with some pictures from Hurrdat Sports.
This week on Nebraska Stories, a musician transforms an old bank into a studio, a stage, and a hub for music in western Nebraska. A community garden in Omaha expands access to fresh local food. And two Huskers, one rare bond, etched in the history of Nebraska baseball. These stories and more on Nebraska Stories.
Thursday night at 8 Central on Nebraska Public Media.
I hear the echoes all through the meadows. Breathe in and let go. That sweet surrender. I've been running, running, running all through the night. You can knock me down, but I've got my will to survive. Rise up, rise up. Rise up, rise up. Like a mountain high, like a waterfall. Through the wind, I'll be standing tall. Rise up, rise up.
Together, we can make real change happen.
One of nature's greatest displays of might is the most iconic waterfall in the world. It's a force that shaped the region and created a natural realm unlike any other.
As you travel upriver, the modern world seems to fall away. It feels like a trip back in time.
Discover the many wonders of Niagara Falls.
Wednesday night at 7 Central on Nebraska Public Media.
You know, we probably have a pretty firm two deep right now in terms of guys that are in the mix at different positions. And, you know, when we're saying multiple, we're multiple scheme wise, but we want to have as many personnel groupings as we can have that would then utilize our personnel, you know, some individual players do certain things. So that's one of the things, maybe going back to the first question, is how can we maybe, this guy kind of knows our scheme right now, but how can we maybe try him in a little couple different spots to see if he could add value to our defense. So I think it's getting there. And obviously we have the summer and really training camp to really, you know, get that thing tight.
I'd hope.
As we move over to the defensive side, what differences do you think we'll see from John Butler's defense compared to what we had last year?
That's a good question. I think there'll be different wrinkles. To me, in DB, you can, when we were watching kind of the same stuff, probably a few more things in the back end will be a little different, in my opinion, just because we have newer coaches, right? So I think there'll be some tweaks. I think when you look at it from afar, you're going to see, okay, there's 3 down linemen, your jack, and then your linebackers and your 5 guys in the secondary. But who's filling that Isaac Gifford kind of spot? I think that will be handled a little differently, because I think Isaac got put in a bad spot last year, in my opinion. I just think
he was hurt.
He was asked to do a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just he's not a deep safety type of player. He's a guy that needs to be down in the hole, he needs to be at the pile.
Yep.
And playing a lot of line of scrimmage. But I think majority on the back end with Coach Butler being a secondary guy predominantly. I think you'll see some tweaks there foremost.
Biggest difference from what Tony White did?
Yeah, I think the versatility on the back end, and they'll be a lot more aggressive. I think,
Especially on third down.
Coach Butler, Coach Snow, I think they like pressure. They like a variety of looks. They use the same terms all offseason about affecting the quarterback and not necessarily with getting a guy to the ground, just the pre-snap looks.
Ooh, yeah.
So I think, the cross-training of a guy being able to play like a post safety or a rover or, the strong, just the versatility within the bodies that they can play will allow them to mix and match. Because I don't know how many natural pass rushers they have. So when you don't, I think a lot of it is predicated on looks and disguise.
A lot of what we see from college, and you can watch this with the NFL draft, a lot of those outside guys aren't getting a lot of sacks because the inside guys are. Could you see Keona Davis maybe having some numbers like that?
I mean, Keona Davis in Winery are like the guys that I think you look at right away that can be like the 6 to 8 sack type guys on this defense. I think Riley Van Poppel in the interior has the ability. Judy has been a good pass rusher for what they've asked him to do. But they lose a lot there. I mean, I think we all are aware. Jamari Butler, when he was at his peak, was really good last year. Nash Hutmacher and Ty Robinson played excellent at times. So
I think a healthy Cam Lenhart will help too.
Yeah, we haven't seen that Cam Lenhart for a while.
Since freshman year.
That version where you're like, wow, this guy could be an all-conference type player.
So guys that are coming back, we mentioned some of them, but Riley Van Poppel, big fan or?
Yeah, big fan. Huge fan. I mean, I stood next to his old man at practice on Thursday.
Oh, yeah?
I mean,
Yeah, Todd was a big guy.
yeah. I'm like,
He had like 500.
I know. I was gonna say,
You're like, I had your baseball
yeah. I
kid.
was like, geez, good gene pool.
Yeah.
But I like him a lot. I think his ability to kind of sit back, not be forced into. I mean, he played so well as a freshman, and that's just so rare to see guys come in. Sean, did he come in at spring as a freshman?
Yes.
He did. I can't remember, but like just being able to, play that early as a freshman, successful. Sitting back, seeing how learn from Ty, but thrown in that mix, I think my expectations are very, very high for Riley Van Poppel, and he's wearing that 44, so he has to represent.
What about Jalen George, a guy we didn't see during the spring because of injuries?
Yeah, I think injuries have kind of held him back, and he was a guy that I was interested in seeing. But, I mean, and Jay can speak to this as well. I think the thing with D-line is being a technician, right? Natural ability is it's great. It's kind of what you want, but I mean, being a good technician, head down, you get down, use your hands, get to the V of the neck. You don't feel any pressure, don't get vertical. Right. When you start to do all those little things robotically, you can really start to play as a defense, because what happens is you make the plays without making the plays. You occupy, you hit your fits. Man, everybody else is just so free. So I think those guys understanding the day-to-day rigor of just being consistent. Just doing the same thing every day, where you almost get bored with it. That's where you want those guys.
Well, you have to. You have to be. D-line is at this level, but the biggest thing, I don't know, I say it all the time, is just the eye discipline.
Yep.
Eye discipline is so important in all sports, but at D-line, it's reading. I mean, you can read the lean of a tackle or a tight end.
He's there for a reason.
Lean and split, reading splits.
Yeah.
Hi hat. You see, down hi hat, or just little things that you pick up as you get older, and you learn as you progress throughout the season. Just entrusting that, but then the technique has to come as well. You got to have good hands. You have to have good pad level. You have to have good feet. Playing with the right hand in certain gap situations.
Did you see some of those drills?
Yes.
I mean,
it's important.
I mean, they're putting you in phase with the almost remedial of drills, and I mean, just learning to lock with an inside arm.
Right.
That's Saban's drill.
Learning to lock with your inside arm.
Right. If you have inside gap, you're a DN. You're in a head-up 6 technique.
Yeah.
And you got that C gap. Like your inside hand, whatever. If you're on the left or right, that's gonna be very important.
Yeah.
And if you're, outside contain and you got to have that D gap or C gap
and it's
responsibility.
the difference between like a full gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's
doesn't
just
seem like much,
Right.
but it's the difference
it's
between
a crease.
hole
I mean,
and not.
And a yard could be just setting that tackle or squeezing that gap down, whether you're a 3 or. I mean, just splitting a double, playing the double right and making sure that guard has to stay on you just a second longer.
Yeah.
or not even a second, a half a second longer, so that linebacker can get over top and scrape and go make a play. All those things, and it doesn't happen. Like, you have to drill and drill and drill, and that's why I always hated bye weeks in college, because I needed the rep. I got my eyes and my technique. Like, I needed the reps to do it. It just doesn't happen. It ain't for the faint of heart in there. So it's not like you can just do that stuff in your apartment by yourself, right? Like, you got to do it the right way.
Dude,
so.
Malik Collins is like on, what is it, 8th, 9th year now?
Oh, he's a technician.
Just being a technician.
He's a
Being a
technician.
technician.
Incredible.
Works his tail
Yeah,
off.
yeah. Sean, let's go over to the linebackers. A lot of newcomers there in terms of, what do you think about the jack? Let's start off with that position. Who do you think wins that spot?
Well, Deshaun McCullough, I think you got to obviously start there. I mean, just with his experience and his background and his versatility. I mean, a guy that's almost could play at all three levels of the defense. He was a high dollar acquisition.
Sure.
When you look at the money they spent on NIL and the guys they signed, McCullough was right up there with any of them. And then, McGahee too. I mean,
So you think McGahee affects
I think
the
you're going to
passer
see
more?
both those guys be on the field together. I mean, Matt Rule said that a couple times. It's like, I want our best guys on the field at one time. So I don't know if they're just married to having just one of those guys out there. You could see, and David could probably chime in more on this, like, you could see probably situations where both those guys are out there.
I agree.
Yeah. So then you have Buddha, probably middle linebacker.
Yeah, I think your insides are probably better than we maybe think. If with you got Trent, you've got Javen Wright, you've got Bowers. So you have a couple of hammers. Then you have the cheat code in Javen Wright that has seen it. You talk about a guy that can read hand placement and pressure of the knuckles and tight splits. Like, Buddha's definitely that guy. And then you get probably the best pass rusher of the bunch in Shavers. Let that guy do what he does. He can flat out rush the passer. So you probably ought to put him in situations where he's bringing some pressure.
Yeah. He's a happy guy, too.
Yeah.
Listen to him talk. When he was talking about Watson Trent telling him where to go, he was so happy to have that guy kind of helping him a little bit. Let's go to defensive backs, where obviously there was some struggles last year. We had injuries and you had a change of the coach and everything. Your feel for the DBs?
Well, a lot of similar faces back there that we saw last year. Obviously, Singleton be back there. Some new guys. I mean, some guys have present some opportunities. Where does Bly Hill fit in all this? I mean, another guy you watch out there, you're like, man, that's
a long fella.
Different. That's different.
Yeah.
But it's just that the guys that played last year, can they improve? Can they involve in this? You want to call it the quote unquote new system, new scheme with Coach Butler? Who are the young guys, the younger guys behind there? I know another guy that probably wears 28 that DB is familiar with. That's going to fit rather well into this battle of the secondary. But a lot of familiarity, but yet a lot of guys who are young and hungry that are going to play. I mean, you had the kid from, you're 37 from Omaha North, right?
Yeah.
You thrown to that, Donovan Jones.
And we saw those next three safeties, right?
Yep.
Where it was Rhett was a little dinged up, so it's Guthrie, it's Caleb, and for those guys to be versatile. I mean, one of the reasons that I think Caleb wanted to scrimmage on Saturday was, can you play the strong safety? Right? You haven't been in the box in a while, and you have to show the ability to play that. And then you get you get the good leadership of guys like Buford, and you finally have a healthy Hartzog.
Yep.
Where I've never really cheered so hard for anyone as much as I'm cheering for Hartzog, just because he's been off maligned. I think he's clearly the leader of that bunch. I get Keese is Buford's the vocal one. Singleton doesn't say boo, but he's probably the most gifted. But Hartzog is the guy that I'm hoping really has a big year, because he can play in the nickel now. He's got a lot more flexibility.
Those guys from Meat, Louisiana, they don't need to talk. They don't have to talk.
If you get him to say two sentences,
I tell you what, though, the
because
coaches,
he is very conscious of that mistake.
I will say the staff does like Andrew Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he can play.
Those are your starters at corner? Is it
Sierra
Wright?
Wright.
I think you
Sierra,
go with Wright and Marshall.
Marshall are your starters at corner.
I do.
And then your starters at safety are Singleton,
Buford,
and
Hartzog.
And then who? And he's your nickel guy.
Who's the rover?
So the rover of that trio would be Singleton.
Oh, that'd be nice.
And he's
with that
better
size.
by the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
He'll get down into the box.
Yeah.
And they must like Ramirez Stewart. They mention him a lot. They have to like him.
Yeah,
They
we'll
mention him
see.
so much. Or they're trying to fire him up. Because I know coaches do both things. They'll say your name sometimes. They want you to.
Is it Ramir or is it like a Segrin Ramir?
But I mean, That has to be the strongest part of the defense, though. Looking at from the whole, I mean, the depth and the numbers at secondary.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, Branch is going to fit in there.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it, but watching Jeremiah Charles run the obstacle course thing they had, my goodness.
Yeah.
So
he must run.
Charles again is another one of those
Sub
guys
7.
that wanted to scrimmage with Bly Hill,
Yeah.
because I think when those guys lobby to do that, they want you to know that they're knocking on the door.
Yeah, his short shot, I guarantee, is like a 4 flat.
He's and
His change of
remember,
direction. He's
He's
a
a
good
50-foot
athlete.
triple jumper.
we
He's a great
forget
athlete.
he played early.
Yeah.
He's not
He
void
started the UCLA.
got
he's
picked
not
on a
void
little
of
bit.
talent,
Yeah.
right? They hit
Yeah.
the little skinny on him and he got pulled, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Twitchy.
he's not. He's
He's
yeah.
forgot
He's
about
not.
Amari
Very
Sanders, too. I mean,
Yep, and Amari Sanders, another one.
Long.
I got a list of 12 guys.
I was just saying, like,
It's a
that's
deep
I mean,
room. 12
the
guys
depth
here.
there with the guys.
It's a deep room.
It's
The corners. I think they can play 6.
All right. Coming up, we'll discuss where some former Huskers ended up in the NFL. The headliners for the Huskers, of course, were Ty Robinson and Thomas Fidone, and see where some other Huskers ended up on the free agent market as well when we come back.
You know, there's always something amazing coming up on Nebraska Public Media. It's an irreplaceable service in communities all across Nebraska. But public media production has real costs. These expenses are largely funded by people like us stepping up generously to make sure Nebraska Public Media continues to thrive. Make sure this year will be filled with the wonder and delight you expect from Nebraska Public Media. Give your donation online at nebraskapublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-989-8236.
Be sure to watch Backyard Farmer for answers to all your gardening questions. Our Nebraska Extension specialists and professionals will guide you through the gardening season with expert advice on everything from turf, trees and shrubs, vegetables, and making your home landscape healthy and beautiful. If you love gardening, you'll love Backyard Farmer. Watch Backyard Farmer Thursday night at 7 Central on Nebraska Public Media.
There's a place in the middle of America where we stand up and stand out, bringing light that illuminates the best ideas and brings change. Understanding the heart of learning comes from the heartland. Nebraska Public Media is yours, a space and community for everyone. We tell stories and amplify voices so that all can be heard, all from a place that we call home. This is Nebraska Public Media.
African Americans have higher death rates for cancer, higher death rates at younger ages for heart attacks, for strokes.
There's nothing genetically biological about being Black that would cause these poor health outcomes across the board.
Why is it that these disparities exist?
NOVA investigates the science behind the disparity.
Wednesday night at 8 Central on Nebraska Public Media.
Sometimes I think there's really two groups. There's the guys who aren't going to play and they really want to play. And whether it's 105 or they're just not, they're just not quite good enough. And it looks like that's going to be the way for the rest of their career. And they want to move down. We try to help them as much as we can. And I love watching them succeed. There's a kind of a second group of guys who are good enough to play here. And I think they should stick it out and fight. I think too many people, outside people, parents, coaches, we're always trying to find like a better situation. But if you really are an NFL player or you're really a great player, you'll make your situation good enough by just getting better. The stories we hear, not always the story. So I don't overreact to things I hear on the outside. On the inside, we just try to be transparent with guys. What I said, we played the Iowa game, and that Monday I walked in, I said to the guys, listen, everybody has the right to make the best decision for them. I just asked two things. That A, you make the decision based on the right information. Like, don't come to me later and say, well, they told me this, but they end up doing that. Like, there's stories everywhere. And that's why, if you've been here and you trust us, if you're here and you say, well, Coach Rules lied to me, I don't trust him, then okay. But if you've been here and we've always told you the truth as best we know it, then if we tell you, hey, this is where we see you, then you probably should listen to that as opposed to somebody out there. Like, everyone out there always has something better for you. Every situation is going to be different. We're not super out there looking for a ton of guys in the portal. If a guy pops up, we might take a guy or two if it's the right fit. But we like this football team, and we I don't know if there's enough footballs to go around to the guys I think can make plays on this team. And so we want to play a ton of guys on defense. So I'm not sitting here chasing anybody except someone who can be a difference maker if they showed up.
We're here in the Nebraska Public Media Studio. I'm Michael Severe with Sean Callahan to talk more about the effects of the House versus the NCAA settlement, what's going to be recruiting and the program overall. Literally 5 minutes ago, it could have changed while we were in here. But every time we look up, but the big thing people want to know about is roster limits. It looks like we won't see those at least for a few years.
Right. The judge in California, Claudia Wilkins, who's overseeing this matter, she put out her thoughts on things that she's okay with everything other than the roster limits, which you're essentially going to move out players that signed something that said different. If your son signed to play at a school, this wasn't part of what they signed up for, where they could be cut out because of roster limits. So that is kind of where things are at right now. They've got to figure out a compromise that the judge is on board with, as far as what the roster limits are. Now, Troy Dannon told Steve Sipple from Husker Online this weekend that he does not want a roster limit. He would like to see everything just be, let programs operate how they want.
Yeah.
He's not optimistic they're going to go that direction.
Yeah.
But at minimum, I think you're going to see a grandfathering. But it's a little too late. I mean, there's a lot of athletes that have already made their plans.
Sure.
But maybe if they allow the grandfathering, some of these kids could come back to Nebraska. Because the main thing you worry about is academics, too. I mean, you're going to disrupt a guy's academic future because of a roster limit they had no control over. And I think that's where Judge Wilkins kind of sits on this issue, where she didn't agree with putting these hard limits immediately into the game in all sports.
Yeah, the great thing about her is she's also getting ready to retire. This is her last thing she's doing. She's going to make sure it's right. Let's talk about how the $600 limit in terms of NIL and how that works with the clearinghouse and that kind of thing.
So right now, teams will get $20.5 million in-house, which is the revenue share money. And it's not NIL. It's the television money. It's the media rights money that's going to be given as a percentage to the athletes. And the first year is $20.5 million. Football is going to get around $15 million of that $20.5 million.
Right.
So that's where a guy like Pat Stewart, the new general manager, he's got to manage that money and the cap, how they want to pay that out, have limits for each position room and what they want to do with it. But then the real interesting part will be the NIL piece, because any deal that goes through over $600 has to be approved by a clearinghouse. And that's where schools like, I think, in Nebraska or in Ohio State that have passionate business owner boosters are going to get creative, and they're going to come up with, like you're going to go to major companies in the state that are supporters of the university, and they're going to say, all right, we're going to put together 3 or 4 or 5 major 6-figure NIL opportunities, and this company's going to do that. And that to me will be a separator at a place like Nebraska, because you will be able, I think, to create some pretty big opportunities that will pass through this clearinghouse.
But how do you judge fair market value? When the clearinghouse is looking at them, how do you judge that that's a fair market for that particular person?
That's the gray area, right? But so I don't know if it's going to be the cost of doing business or what somebody's willing to pay, because that's really hard to cap.
Right.
Right. So depending on what you assign somebody's value to, a business may seem like an excessive number.
Yeah.
But to that business, when you want to talk about their value or fair market value or their worth, which sometimes it's different between worth and value.
Sure,
we use them interchangeably, but they're two completely different concepts. That will be hard to substantiate.
Yeah, they look at a guy like Heinrich Haarberg, they don't understand what he means to the state as being a former quarterback from the state. People like him. Why is this second
He has
string?
a tremendous. How do you put a value on Q rating?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody knows him.
It's an imperfect science, and we're all kind of working through that right now. Like you said, information changes by the minute, by the second. If someone gets offered X and they go by, oh, nope, it's less than this, because we looked at other guys in your situation comparable to what they got at other schools. Plus, I'm guessing social media and all this stuff getting thrown in the mix and stuff like
Followers
that.
And stuff
like that. So, and they come back and say, no, you're going to get 500. You wanted 500, but now you're only going to get, your fair market value is 3.
It's arbitration.
Right. It's
baseball
just
arbitration.
But it's not. Yeah. It's
less than 20 athletes that we're talking about that are probably going to be in this category, and that's what you have to figure out. Who are those 15 or 20 athletes that are going to get this additional opportunity based on what their value is.
You know, the interesting thing about that, too, because I think it gets overlooked because we take it for granted. I think one of the things you have to talk about with a guy like Coach Rule and Coach Dannon are they don't do a lot of complaining. They don't talk about the challenges. They talk about evolving and staying ahead of what's going on. Coach Rule has to be one of the most malleable guys that I have seen operate under this kind of it's not lawlessness, I don't want to be melodramatic, but when things are so fluid and changing, he just appears to be a guy that's like, okay, there's no sense in belly aching. We have a real good team we've put together. Let's just do our best to stay ahead of the game. Like I don't think he gets near enough credit for being as flexible as he's been. A lot lesser folks would have thrown their hands up.
It might be why a lot of some older coaches decided, I don't want to be a
100%.
reliable guy. I'm getting out of here.
100%.
Let's talk about the survey question that we have, which comes from the portal. Which player do you look forward to checking out the most and seeing them play? We have 31% for Deshaun McCullough. That's kind of surprising. Dan Key at 24%. I figured it'd be a skill player, and then Elijah Pritchett at 24%. A little surprised by that.
Wait a minute, Pritchett is to 31%.
Oh, it is Pritchett? Okay.
Even I can see that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got to count down. Oh, yeah, because McCullough's 4%. Sorry about that.
It's like a seeing eye test, though.
It is. Like, I can see it, but I couldn't figure out the lines. There's too many names.
Well, I can't read.
I'm going to go with Spindler. That's the guy I'm looking forward to watching. Let's talk about the draft. Coming into the season, I thought that maybe 11 different guys had a chance, right, to get drafted. Then I narrowed it down to about 7. 2 of those guys came back. 1 guy transferred. Only 2 guys get drafted. Were you surprised?
Not a ton. I thought Ty would have maybe gone earlier.
Great fit, though.
Oh, my gosh.
He's like blessed to go to a place like that. Blessed. He's blessed.
I mean, teed up perfectly for his skill set and what he's done to play. You talking 5 technique to inside all the way to, I mean, he's going to be put in.
You make the case Philly's the best defensive line in the league.
Yeah.
And they're young, and they're just obviously the success they've had.
Yeah.
You learn from, heck, half the Georgia football team that's there.
That is true.
Amongst the linebacker and D-line. But that's, I mean, when they said Philadelphia, I have a good friend in Philly, and he texted me within 5 minutes. He's like, what are we going to get? I'm like, listen, you're getting a great player who can play multiple spots, and you're going to love him. He's going to fit perfectly with the Eagles. That huge get for them.
It's a good one. What do you think?
It's the wrong team in the Keystone State as a Steelers guy, but Philadelphia's been good in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, you go all the way back to Stu Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
One of the most underappreciated great players that stepped foot on this campus. Philly's got a thing for Nebraska guys. I like it.
Yeah, Philly, Tampa do a lot too, obviously because of who they have there, their GM spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of front office guys at both those places.
Yeah. I know you were talking about one of the undrafted free agents. You're looking for John Bullock. You think that he's got a shot?
Right there with you.
You know, John Bullock was, played through a lot of pain this year.
Yep.
And he was finally fully healthy at the pro day and everything, and he ran really well. I don't know what his exact times were, but I know his numbers were off the charts, enough to get the immediate undrafted free agent opportunity. And what that means, correct me if I'm wrong, is you get an invite into the training camp. Like you're on the roster for training camp, which is all you can ask for. I mean, you got a chance to be in the organization through the off season, and you'll be in the camp in August.
Yeah, Bullock and Ben Scott, both Tampa, got picked up. Isaiah Nair, 49ers, Isaac Gifford, Cardinals. You mentioned, what do you think Fredoni's fit?
I like it. So here's the thing, and I've said this from day one, just watching him in high school and my affinity for his competitiveness. If he's healthy, his competitive stamina would be hard to match. You talk about somebody that will just show up every day and enjoys competing. He will show up every single day. He's a hard guy to get rid of because he's not going anywhere. You have to kick him out the door.
Yeah, and then a great match, Nash going to the Ravens, getting picked up by undrafted free agent.
Again, another guy that's good, good with D-line.
Yeah, that's good there. That's nice matching up. Now, I know this is a long way off, but do you feel, because it's been since 2011 since they had a first rounder, 2011 since they had more than 4 guys. Do you think this next year, this 2026, is one where you could start seeing Nebraska looking like a team that has a bunch of draft picks?
Yeah, you'll have more than 2.
Yeah. Because Spindler and Pritchard, those are the guys you're throwing out there?
100%.
McCullough.
McCullough.
I hope. I do.
I mean, he's at least gonna be on a lot of radars.
A guy we're sleeping on because for whatever the reason, we didn't love the way he played last year. Deshaun Singleton is going to be a very good tester.
Yes, yeah. And walking across the stage.
He's going to be a very good tester.
Dane Key.
He stays healthy.
Think he's certainly a possibility, yeah. You never know with the transfer wide receivers. He's got to be productive, obviously, because I thought both Nair and Banks, if they had productive seasons, maybe could sneak in the 7th round. But
And shame on me for not paying better attention to the wide receivers, because I can't even really speak to his explosiveness in and out of breaks. I just know, and I think I mumbled to you, I said, God, that guy's always open. You know, so it's like, I don't know what exactly I'm going to be enamored with his skill sets, because I haven't dialed in. But he catches a lot of balls.
There's no metric stat more important now. NFL is distance between you and the defender. Like how many yards or you're from that defender. If you can do that, you're going to sign
Separation,
a contract.
right?
Yeah. Separation. If you can do that, yeah.
Yeah, getting in and out of breaks.
Pritchett was also on a first-round projection board this week, which those are always dangerous.
He is a massive individual.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got to clean up a lot from Alabama.
I mean, it was very awkward to get the mic close to him. He's a giant human being.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's do burning questions. Sean?
This is a good one. My burning question is, what will this summer, what will this offseason bring as far as the expectation level for this team? I think Coach Rule's done a very good job of kind of trying to keep a lid on things with the lack of access to seeing his team. And I think he wants a very controlled, kind of calm summer. But there's going to be a lot of hype going out to Arrowhead Stadium.
Burning question.
What will the evolution of the defensive line look like? We know what we think the benchmark is, but they may have more capable players this year, but can they handle the rigor and the production of what last year's team did? What will be asked of this year's D-line relative to the defense?
Jay? You know, we spent talking about all position groups, and one of his biggest fans, was so happy he came back here. But the addition of Mike Eckler to special teams.
Good call.
We didn't touch base on that, but his ability to bring the energy, not only the special teams, but just the staff and the team in general.
Yeah.
Got a chance to chat with him after practice. Yeah. I was not part of the team when he was coaching, but I was still playing him back around the program.
Yeah.
Love his energy, love his enthusiasm. He's going to be a difference maker, not only in special teams, but his ability that juice and that energy with that team.
Yeah.
It's going to be something special.
He spoke at the Jet Award Gala and said, trust me, we'll have somebody back here next year. And I think he means that, no doubt. My burning question is, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make it to the last week of August without any football? I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to make it. Coming up on Nebraska Public Media, we have the volleyball spring game from Ord at 2 p.m. Central as the Huskers battle South Dakota State. And don't forget, you can always check out the Nebraska High School Classics on our YouTube channel. Our thanks for you joining us. Jay Moore, Damon Benning, and Sean Callahan. I'm Michael Severe. We'll see you later in 2025 on Big Red Wrap-Up.
Support for